Today we're going to go over the review for tomorrow's test. So you can go through each slide. It will be a different question and I'll show you how to work it out. So in case you have questions, you'll be prepared for tomorrow's test. Question number 1 says find the solution to the following equation. So this is set up like we did all last week. There's a variable letter n minus 13 equals negative 7. So the way we want to solve this is we want to get rid of the number. So right now it says negative 13. To get rid of that, you should do positive 13. Whatever you do to the left side of the equation, you do to the right side. Some people also might like to half their equation down the middle so they know the left from the right. So I put plus 13 on the left side. I'm going to put plus 13 or positive 13 on the right side. So on the left, that should cancel out. 13 minus 13 is 0. Then I have n. And on the far right side, it says negative 7 plus 13. When your numbers have different signs, like negative 7 and positive 13, you need to subtract those two numbers. If you do 13 minus 7, you should get 6. If you're not sure if it's positive or negative, let's think back. Is 7 have more people on its team, or does 13 have more people on its team? 13 does, so your final answer would be positive. Now normally we would have to divide the number that's by the n into our answer. But in this question, there's nothing by the n, so it just says n equals 6. So your final answer would just be 6. Question number 2 says translate the word phrase, the product of m and 5 is 30. So we need to think about what are the key words in this phrase. You guys should notice the word product. That means multiply. Okay, then I need to know what things am I multiplying? M and 5. And on our handout or our notes, we started showing multiplication without using a symbol at all. We wrote the number and the letter side by side smushed together. If you look at the end of this phrase, it says is 30. And we said is translates to an equal sign, and then 30 is our answer. This does not say solve or find the solution, so all you need to do is write 5m equals 30. Question number 3. Sarah's running to practice for a track team. The table below shows how many laps she ran during each after-school practice. Write the rule that will represent how many laps Sarah will run on the nth day. So the first thing we need to do is write the rule. Well, if you forgot how to do sequences, the first thing we started looking at was how much are the laps changing every time. If I go from 4 to 7, you should notice those are increasing by 3 every time. Okay, the first part of the rule is 3. After you find out how much it's changing, you always put the letter n beside it. This quantity that we're changing by, that's the number you're going to multiply with every single time, no matter what. So if I look at my question, if I practice the first day and my equation just says multiply by 3, and I look up here, is 1 times 3 equal my answer of 4? Well, 1 times 3 is only 3, so how could I get to 4? I still need to add 1. And that doesn't look very dark, so I'll go over it with another color. So my rule is going to be multiply by 3 and then add 1, or 3n plus 1. Now the next part of this question says use the rule to determine how many laps you would run on the 7th practice. So you have a couple options. You can keep extending your table out until you get to the 7th practice, or you can just use this rule, 3 times the number, how many practices she's at, plus 1 more. And that's what I'm going to do. 3 times the number of practices she has plus 1. So this says go with 7 practices. So I should do 3 times 7 plus 1. 3 times 7 is 21, plus 1 more equals 22. So on her 7th practice, Sarah should run 22 laps. Question 4 says solve the equation to find the value of n. So this is also similar to the questions we solved all last week. When you read the question, it says 11 plus 7n equals 4. Well, this number that's by the variable, we always save that one for last. So the other number that I need to use is 11. How do you get rid of 11? Well, if it's positive, you should do negative or subtract. And then I'm going to do negative 11 on the other side as well. 11 minus 11, that is 0. Then I still have plus 7n equals positive 4, negative 11. These numbers have different signs, so I'm actually going to subtract 11 minus 4. That's going to be 7. And now I need to think, is it going to be positive 7 or negative 7? So again, if you couldn't remember, which one has more on its team? Does 4 have more players or does 11 have more players? You should choose 11. So the answer is going to be negative 7. Now this time I do have a number beside the letter n. So I need to divide it into the answer. Negative 7 divided by 7. Well, any number divided by itself is 1. Now we need to decide, is it positive or negative? If you think back to the Mac Daddy face, the 7 first is negative. The next 7 is positive. So my sign that I have left over is negative. So that means my answer would also become a negative number. So the final answer, or the value of n, is negative 1. Number 4, simplify the expression. You may have forgotten about this, but this is also called PEMDAS. Or some people say the order of operations. So if you go through the list, the first thing we need to look for is any parentheses and do the question inside the parentheses. So inside the parentheses, we have 8 minus 2. 8 minus 2 is 6. Then I'm going to put the parentheses around it. I'm going to copy everything else just like it is around the parentheses. Okay, after parentheses, the next thing is exponents. Well, when you look at this question, I don't see any exponents. Those are those little numbers that sit up at the top right-hand corner. So we have no exponents. The next thing in our list is multiply or divide. Well, I see a multiply, but it's kind of secret. 5 right beside the parentheses. 5 times 6 is 30. Then I'm going to copy everything else down that's beside it. I don't have any division, so I'm done with that. Then add or subtract whichever one comes first. And in this question, the adding part comes first. So I should do 10 plus 30. That's 40 minus 12. 40 minus 12 is 28. So your answer is 28. Question number 6. We have a story, and we need to pick the equation that matches it. So it says, information was compared for 2 cookie stores. One cookie store makes 160 cookies per hour. The other cookie store makes 145 cookies per hour. Which of the following equations can be used to find T, the total number of cookies made by both stores in 6 hours? So total number, that's a clue for adding. I'm going to be adding up the 2 stores. Store number 1 can make how many cookies? 160. Store number 2 can make how many cookies? 145. And that's in 1 hour. But this question says you're going to do it for 6 hours. So if I continue the same thing for more hours, I need to multiply all of this times 6. And to do that, I would put parentheses around it, and then I can either put a times sign and a 6. I could put it right beside it, or I could also use my X. So if you look through these 4 choices, there should only be one that matches what I've written on the screen. So please make sure you choose the correct one, A, B, C, or D, that matches mine. Number 7 says translate the following word phrase into an equation. So in my class today, we started chunking the phrase. So I grouped together 4 less than. If you wanted to do 4 less than someone, that would mean subtract 4. So you need to just put down subtract 4. The next words we're going to put together are 3 times a number. Well, that just means 3 times n, because we don't know what number. But I'm not putting the sign, I'm not putting any symbol, I'm just putting them together super close. The last part of the sentence says is 14. Is translates to an equal sign, and then 14. So if you had this all together, 3n minus 4 equals 14. And you're done. Number 8, list the first 4 terms in the sequence using the rule 4n minus 1. N is the position of the term. So if you think about this and we made a chart, I'm going to use the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the answers I come up with are going to be what I write down in the blanks. So the rule says multiply the number by 4, then subtract 1. So in the middle, I would have 4 times 1, and then the rule says subtract 1. Then my second one, I would have 4 times 2, and then subtract 1. Then 4 times 3, and subtract 1. Then 4 times 4, and subtract 1. I'm going to let you guys finish this one to know what are the answers for the first 4 terms in the sequence. Number 9 again says find the value of n. So sometimes people like to move the smallest number so the n stays positive. I prefer to take whatever is on the right side of the equation. If there is a letter over here, my choice is to get rid of this one. Well, if I want to get rid of 6n, I would do negative 6n. And whatever you do on one side, you have to do to the other. So negative 6n. If you guys want to move the 5, it's totally fine. You will get the same final answer as me. We'll just have a little bit different in the middle. So right now, 6n minus 6n, that's 0. I still have plus 14 on this side. On the left side, I still have negative 8. And then 5 minus 6 is negative 1n. So now your equation, I've got all my n's on the left side. I want to move or get rid of negative 8. How do you get rid of negative 8? You should do positive 8. Whatever you do on the left side, you should do to the right side. 8 minus 8 is 0. I still have negative 1n. And then on the right side, it says positive 14 and positive 8. That is going to go together to be positive 22. Now the last step I need to do, negative 1 needs to divide into positive 22. 22 divided by negative 1 equals negative 22. So number 9 is negative 22. Number 10, Nancy is making and selling pens to raise money. It costs 85 cents to make each pen. She wants to sell each pen for $2.75. Which expression can Nancy use to determine the profit when she sells 7 pens?